First beer. First batch. Cox & Co.
Our first attempt at all grain brewing with the Grainfather. Went for a New England style of IPA, but we'll find out.
So what sort of beer on the market would that be similar to?
Well, I was sort of pitching it at maybe like a Hazy Jane.
Okay.
Or something like that. But
we'll soon see.
We shall see. Let's have a look at how we made it first.
Hello, honey. I brought you a coffee.
I was up till 3 a.m.
What did we learn about brewing when drunk?
One of the yeast packets didn't actually break. And so when I was pouring it, or the yeast out into the fermenter, this whole pack of like liquid yeast came out. So I was like, shit, better grab that. Stuck my hand in and I'm thinking, shit, when was the last time I washed my hands? I did something wrong. Hello! It's about 3 days since we probably last saw each other. I've done a lot of cleaning in that time. Had to clean the Grainfather unit and just everything else that went with it. We're 3 days into the fermentation here. Got really active fermentation going on. You can see all the CO2 in the airlock. One thing that was worrying me is that the yeast that we're using, the best temperatures for it are between 18 and 22, and this has been sitting at like 23. I think it went up to 24 earlier. I'm not sure how that is going to affect the fermentation, but we're just going to take a reading now, and we're going to do a yeast dump. We're going to dump all the yeast. Ugh!
Oh, that is the most rank thing I've seen in ages.
Smells great though. So, that was our yeast dump. Beautiful.
Is that it?
That's it. So now we need to take a reading of the beer. So I'm just going to fit this hose to the bottom tap here. So this dual valve system, the top tap takes from the bottom, which will be like where all the yeast is sitting, and then this beer valve, this valve will take from the beer, and there's a little pipe that sits up to about this level, so the yeast is at the bottom and the beer will just be sitting above this line here, and this tap will take from the beer. So just gonna pour into here.
It's our beer.
There's our beer. It's looking quite orangey brown at the minute.
Is that as fragrant as I was expecting?
Well, that's because we haven't done the dry hopping yet.
I kind of just want to neck it though. Gonna take a reading of the beer. Spin it. 20...
22, I think.
22.
Yeah.
So our final gravity is 1014.
Yeah.
So when it's set at 1014, we can start bottling it. Taste test. This is like 3 days into the fermentation, so it's not going to be great.
I'll be the one giving the game away, because my mouth and face says it all if I don't like something.
I'd drink that now.
Would you?
It's a lot more bitter than a normal beer, but you know, you can tell the flavour's there. It's going to be nice beer.
Brilliant. Let me have a go.
I was nervous. I'd have took a bigger sip if I didn't know it would taste like that.
Clear as mud. Yeah. Yeah, it is bitter. So that would be the hops that we added in the boil, adding that bitterness. And when it's conditioned in the bottles, after we put the carbonation drops in, that'd be lovely.
Probably the last time you saw us, we were adding in carbonation drops. to get that right level of carbonation. Dogs go in there. So we should expect a bit of a fizz, and when we pour it, we should get a nice head.
Oh, we got the fizz.
There we go. You want to pour first?
I'll pour one for you.
Oh, very nice. I'll pour you. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Well, I don't. It's quite a. It's a 2-finger head.
Solid head.
Its colour, we're like of
It's a bit
brown,
dirty.
dirty.
Yeah, it's definitely on the dark side of what I would normally drink.
And I think we saw this as we were pumping it out into the fermenter. It did have that colour already.
It was very orange back then from the crystal malts, but it's definitely gone darker throughout the process.
I think as it's matured,
Yeah.
it's gone a bit darker.
Today we're going to add dry hops. So I'm currently boiling the hop sock to keep all the hops in there so they don't get mixed in with the beer, so that they're easy to remove in about 7 days' time. A little bit nervous to open the fermenter for the first time, but we'll get a good indication of how happy our yeast is in there, even after my accident. 30 grams of that.
It's like dog food.
30 of Simcoe. Done. So everything here's been sanitised, including myself. So here's our hop sock. So we've tied it at both ends because these hops are going to expand. So we've got a lot of room in there for them to grow. Right, now we've got to pop it in here. Oh. Let's have a look in. Smelling good. Okay, shall we drop our hops in? It's not looking as active as I'd imagined. But we shall just leave that now for 7 days.
What are we saying for the smell? Little disclaimer, I don't think I've got the greatest nose or palate. I'm starting to get a taste for things and know what smells and aromas I'm going for. I suppose that plays a huge part in deciding your ingredients. But usually when I have a drink, I just go, yeah, I like that. And then I know I'll drink it.
Well, I don't normally sniff a beer,
Yeah.
to be honest. It hasn't got a very strong smell to it.
But if anything, it's
I would say citrus.
citrus. That would be from the citra hops. As soon as we open the bag, I'm going to have to stop the dog. There you go. As soon as we open the bag of citra hops, thought, you've been going non-stop all day.
Go on, in your bed. In your bed.
You're joining in now, buddy. Okay? Right. What do you think of this? Get your nose on it?
He's not keen.
He does not like that. The dog has spoken. So, when we opened the bag of citra hops,
It's quite a strong smell.
yeah, it was like I couldn't smell anything else after that. It was just bang, citra.
Wow, the aroma in the room, the smell, just insane.
So I'm guessing now in the future, if I taste a citra hopped beer, then I'll go, yeah, that's what that is.
I think you'd be able to tell.
What did we learn? The vapour and that. Oh, hang on, wait, you get caramel from that.
Do you?
I do.
No.
I get it from under here. Caramel.
I can't smell anything. really, other than the citrus.
I'm doing my hydrometer reading, and we are at 10:01.2. That colour. It's been dry hopping for a couple of days now. Got a really, really hoppy aroma. Still think that Citra is a little bit stronger than the rest of them in there. Is that better? Just have a little taste. It's 9 o'clock in the morning. Still a lot of bitterness. I'm hoping that maybe the carbonation drops might sugar it up a little bit. That's very bitter. We shall see.
Let's have a taste. That's drinkable.
I'm really impressed for our first batch.
From one sip?
I've had a couple now while I've been on the camera.
Oh, have you? When were you
first
doing
of-
that?
First of all, my frogs exploded, and then
Secretly drinking on the side.
I'd just been having a casual
Every
sip.
time we've cut the camera, she's had a few more. I think there was a bit of an alcohol-y taste to begin with, but
Like a bitter alcohol burn aftertaste.
but that seems
but
to
not
subside.
anymore.
Like after. That does subside, and then it becomes like quite a nice drinkable drink.
Well, I'm happy to keep on drinking that. I think it's quite nice. But I do think the bitterness is still there.
Yeah, it's a bit too bitter. So
It's almost slightly sour here,
right,
and then a little bitter. But
but you can think with bitterness, you sort of like acquire it. You acquire the taste like after a few sips.
yeah, it's not. It's definitely not bad at all.
Yeah. So we added 30 grams of Citra and Simcoe 10 minutes before the end of the boil, which totaled to 28 IBUs. Most beer falls in a narrower range between 15 and 80-ish. So maybe this isn't bitterness and it's an off taste. The fermentation was a bit too high because we didn't have the cooling pumps to cool the beer down in the fermentation tank. So I was worried that fermenting at too high a temperature was going to give us some off flavours. Maybe that's what that is.
We are experiencing what is known as a heat wave, I believe, in the UK. Temperatures are way high for what it normally is, and that's a problem for my fermenter because the yeast on the yeast packet says to ferment between 18 and 22 degrees, but we've tried putting it in really cold rooms. During the fermentation there's a lot of activity and it's just naturally getting warmer in there, which isn't helped by the fact that we're in a heat wave. So I bought the cooling pump kit. I'll take you through it now. So there's like an inner wall inside the fermenter and it allows you to pump cold water around the conical fermenter, which comes out the other side, never touches your beer, never interferes with it, also means you don't have to clean it. So when this hits 22, the pump should turn off. Oh, almost. 22. And there we go. Great, so the pump's just turned off. It's at 22 degrees. If it drops below now, the heating's going to turn on. If it starts rising, which I'm sure it will do, the pump turns back on and starts recirculating the cold water. So I've just got to keep that water cold for like 4 days now and just keep it at about 22. So hopefully this hasn't damaged the beer too much. Yeah, and we'll get some good tasting beer out of it. Not long to go now. Learning as we go, eh?
for the next version of this, what do we want to work on?
Colour.
I would say colour. Yeah, 100%. And I think that will come down to not using as much of the crystal, which is really, really red. And when I look at other recipes, we use 300 grams. Other recipes sort of use 60 grams.
Mm-hmm.
Or say, for instance, that was 5% of our grain bill. They would use 1% just to give like the golden colour and not sewage.
I feel like we've been a bit negative because it actually is really tasty, and surely that is all that really matters.
Yeah. Well, we could have just sat here and gone, oh, that is wonderful.
I mean, it is wonderful.
Yeah, it's great.
Beer.
We made beer and it's drinkable.
Yeah, like we were not expecting it to taste this good.
No. There were so many things that we missed, forgot, didn't do, were not prepared for. And then I was kind of on the forums saying, oh, is this going to be a problem? And everybody just said, no, it'll be fine in the end. Be patient. It'll pay off. And I think that's the biggest lesson I've learned is just like sticking with it, be patient, and you get a good beer out of it.
I've learned that you're not patient
No.
and are not willing to persevere and get very disheartened at the first hurdle.
I was ready to give up, on the brew day, halfway through fermenting, bottling. That was a nightmare.
That was just long and a bit of a pain. It's not really a fun process.
No.
It's just cleaning. I hate cleaning anyway.
Where would you like to go with the next one?
Probably a bit lighter in terms of flavour and look.
I think we should just simplify things.
We found out afterwards that trying to brew this type of beer was almost diving in at the deep end. I think we were a bit overly ambitious and probably should have started off with something simpler, but considering it was a difficult beer to make, I think we've done a good job.
Yeah. 100%. Well, I'll drink to that. Cheers. See you next time. I could actually, I'll happily drink that.
Oh yeah,